Hello class, this interactive video is to talk about how economics deals with uncertainty. So, many people believe that statistics is a branch of mathematics, but mathematics deals with certainty while statistics deals with uncertainty. To have a more robust understanding of uncertainty, I'm going to introduce to you behavioral economics. You're gonna love it. Behavioral economics is one of the very few branches of economics that has transcended the academic spheres. And the reason is that the authors are really good writers. That's important. Second, the authors propose an alternative to the rational agent, the maximizing agent that we're dealing with all the time. And third, behavioral economics appeals to decision makers in all spheres. And to talk about it, let me bring you to July 2008, when there was a meeting called the Edge Masterclass in Silicon Valley, where several people that you might know were gathered. Jeff Bezos was in the meeting. In July 2008, Amazon was not even profitable yet. They had no clue about what they would become. Sean Parker had left Facebook and he hadn't invested in Spotify yet. Elon Musk was sitting to his right. Tesla was facing a financial crisis, and SpaceX had spent millions of dollars producing rockets that never launched. Sean Parker had left Facebook. Larry Page was there in Google, but he was being sued. Evan Williams had recently founded a company back then called Twitter. Well, that day, these people invested 9 hours of their days listening to Mullainathan, Kahneman, and Thaler. They were talking about behavioral economics. Daniel Kahneman distinguishes two families of cognitive operations in the mind. System 1, intuition, fast, automatic, emotional, intuitive, and makes 98% of our thinking. System 2, reasoning, thinking slow, deliberate, conscious, and that makes 2% of our thinking. So these authors called econs when we are acting under system 2, and humans when we are under system 1. Under system 1, humans can be myopic and impulsive because we use heuristics for decision making. Many times these heuristics work. If you see someone with a kind smile and nice eyes, you can make a friend and trust this person. But sometimes, as a result of using our humans, we make mistakes and we have biases. Here we're going to talk about the following heuristics: confirmation bias, anchoring, bias towards the status quo, overconfidence, and hyperbolic discounting. Now, before we talk about that, let me ask you something to do an experiment. I want you to use your gut to answer. What is the probability that two people in this or class of statistics share the same birthday? Yeah, I'm waiting. Go ahead and put a number. It's okay. It's fun if you make mistakes. Go ahead. Oh, don't Google it. Don't calculate it. Just tell me, what is the probability that two people share the same birthday? Okay, now let me tell you about heuristics, rules of thumb. So traditional economics assumes that people can make complex decisions and take into account many different variables. But behavioral economists observe that we have a psychological tendency to use these rules of thumbs or heuristics. So let's start with the law of small numbers. It's the tendency to interpret or favor information in such a way that confirms our beliefs. For example, imagine a person has a belief that left-handed people are more creative. So whenever I see a left-handed person who is very creative, there you see, For example, Mexicans believe that we have a curse against penalty kicks. And whenever we miss a penalty kick, we go, you see, it was very likely because we have this curse. Mexicans cannot throw penalty kicks. Anchoring. Traditional economics assumes that people evaluate all possibilities before making a decision. Behavioral economists observe that decision making is influenced by the first piece of information. So this anchoring was first thought by Bersky and Kahneman in 1974. And I just experienced this when I was trying to help my son rent a tuxedo. I called Men's Warehouse and they were renting a tuxedo for $200. We drove to a nearby place of tuxedo rental and they rented the tuxedo in $100, and I was so happy because I saved $100. However, if you Google tuxedo rentals, there's some places that rent a tuxedo for $40. But I was anchored. I was biased by the first number I got, the $200. And same happens to you, and that's what they try to do on the signs. They tell you the original price was $50, but I will sell it to you in $30. The anchoring bias in play. Another one is bias towards the status quo. Traditional economics assumes that people will always be willing to change their choice to increase their utility, okay? But behavioral economists observe that change is really bad and we resist. So you can see that there's an example by Dan Ariely where he shows that becoming an organ donor when you are not by default an organ donor is harder than when you already are and there's no change to do. Another one is called the endowment effect. Traditional economics assumes that preferences are consistent, but behavioral economics observes that there's a bigger value given to something that belongs to me. Therefore, losing something that was mine in the first place is way more painful than acquiring the exact same thing. Take a mug. I've done this experiment. When this mug is mine, and even though the mug costs $10 at the library, it's my mug. I don't want $10. I want my mug. It belongs to me. Now imagine when the government tries to take away free parking or a subsidy. No way. It's super hard. Overconfidence. Traditional economics assumes that people consider true data and have complete information. But behavioral economics observes that people can be overconfident. This happens to me every time I have a meeting in Boulder and I'm driving from Denver to Boulder and I'm sure I will make it on time, and I never do. I'm overconfident in my ability to drive fast when in reality is that traffic and traffic lights. But I'm overconfident. Finally, the last one we can talk about this time is hyperbolic discounting. Traditional economics assumes that we are dynamically consistent, so our preferences are basically the same no matter when the due date is. But behavioral economics observes that we are dynamically inconsistent. This means that our preference changes when the horizons change. And you can see that sometimes we don't follow through our plans and intentions. For example, we overeat. For example, we stay late drinking with friends when we have a final exam the next day. And that was very important to us. So, considering all these biases, what we have at our disposal in this class is statistics. And now I'm going to ask you to do something else. Please go to the comments section and write your actual birthday, the day and the month. That way we can learn what was the actual probability that two people in this class share the same birthday. The purpose of this video is to make you aware of several things that can prevent you from making accurate judgments in the future. I would like you to start thinking probabilistically about the world and do not go by the illusion of certainty. Finally, would you be so kind to share one time when you had a bias and how it affected your judgment? After all, we're humans with better tools.